SH-101. It's a monophonic, monotimbral miracle of a synthesizer. The name SH comes from the Japanese word for synthesizer, or shinsesizer, and the 101 comes from the base starting point of anything, like knitting 101 or Mesopotamian cartography 101, whatever. The 1982 child of the Roland SH-101 modular synthesizer, the SH-101 was a reduction or consolidation of ideas which began as a very complex array of devices and accessories, but over the course of a small number of revisions in a very short time, the 1980s were upon us, and the theme of the day appeared to be that it was time to get out of the house and onto the stage, or maybe onto the skateboard, rocking a guitar-style detachable mod grip and guitar strap. The SH-101's charm and inevitable quality may actually come from the cheap components used to produce it. The filter is the same filter chip found in the Jupiter 8 or the Jupiter 6 or the Juno 60 and many other classic analog synths. The VCO features a range selector, pulse width modulation, pulse wave, saw, sub, octave selector, and noise so that you can make ocean sounds. The VCA selects between the envelope, gated response, the envelope's beautifully responsive attack, decay, sustain, and release. The pitch bend allows for filter frequency adjustment as well as pitch. It has a sneaky little push-up modulation trigger. There's also portamento or glide. It's a selectable and it's also adjustable. All these features combine to make what's turned out to be probably my favorite synthesizer that I've ever heard. But that's not the best part. The SH-101 sequencer is an overly simplistic, externally clocked, rudimentary key-and-play sequencer, and it's superb. Clock the sequencer or the arpeggiator from any gate or pulse source, and it'll play along in time. Mess around with the clock input pattern by programming a rimshot pattern off a 707 or any drum machine, and the sequence steps through the sequence when each trigger arrives. There are no memory presets of any kind. The SH-101 is sort of what you see is what you get. This gives you a really immediate, hands-on experience that's just not to be missed. With a little sincere exploration, virtually all the early Roland sounds can be created with just an SH-101. Kicks, claps, snare drums, hats, drones, the world's finest bass, and wind. My first several records were almost all SH-101 samples, taken into an Emax 2. I traveled the world from 1991 until 2006, driving sound people crazy with the unstoppable power of the SH-101's low end. While the SH-101 was originally $1,200 list, they settled quickly at a second-hand price of about $300. The blue one with the mod grip might fetch maybe $500 if it was absolutely perfect, and it kind of stayed that way. It was the standard price for a long time. Soon the price rose, and now you're seeing them $1,500, and it just seems crazy. So in 2015, I began looking for a modern equivalent of the SH-101. I needed a new, reliable, small, fantastic analog synth as my bass player for this live tour that I was planning. I looked at many things, and some of them were interesting. Some of them were really interesting, but none of them were the SH-101. I almost gave up. I decided to break a promise to myself that I was only going to bring modern electronic devices on this tour. But I lucked out, and I found the Doepfer Dark Energy Mark I. The Dark Energy was the analog bass for my 2016 live ground tour. I actually brought it with me, and we had a blast. But the truth be told, the Dark Energy, it's a little bit flabby on the very low end. It's not really as sort of shapeable and focusable as is necessary. The Dark Energy may have been my gateway drug into Eurorack, which it totally was, but it's definitely not an SH-101. And then I discovered the Intellijel Atlantis. The Atlantis was actually the first thing I ever looked at. I was looking for what to use as my bass synthesizer, and I wrote to Daniel Van Tin and said, what do I do? How can I take this module and put it in its own case and use it as a synthesizer? And, you know, bless his heart, everybody at Intellijel is wonderful. They answered my question, but I just didn't know enough about Eurorack yet to really understand what was being said to me. Now that my case is finished and I know just a little bit more about Eurorack and how things work, the Atlantis fits almost perfectly into the Erica Synths Pico case. And as a standalone synth, it really only requires CV and gate in order to play it or sequence it. Based on the SH-101, the Atlantis elaborates and goes beyond what the synth section of the SH-101 could actually do. I mean, pulse, saw, sub, noise, as well as an external input, which delivers a sine when you haven't got anything else plugged into it. plus an LFO which can be switched to a VCO, not only as a second oscillator, but also can be linked to the main VCO and produce sick frequency modulation, taking the basic wave shaping capabilities out of this world and way beyond what an SH-101 could do. The filter is multi-mode. You can choose low pass, band pass, or high pass. You can have a 2-pole for rough sounds, a 4-pole for creamy sounds. You can boost the filter, you can drive the output, you can invert the polarity or influence the filter with a 1 volt per octave, LFO modulation, or the envelope. It's precise, refined, accurate, robust. The Atlantis has absolutely replaced the SH-101 as my bass player of choice. I don't think that I could possibly love the SH-101 more than I do. Nor do I imagine that any synth ever coming along would steal my heart in the way that it has done. I think to criticize the Atlantis, just to be fair, there's something about using fine, high-quality components that has a different overall feeling in terms of warmth and kind of an absence of inaccuracy or flaw. Everything is synced up and tight, whereas the SH-101 is integrated circuits. It's 30 years old. And there's something sort of warm and hard to tune about it that's just, I don't know, somehow really lovable to me. But I love the SH-101. I always have, since the moment I met it, since Desmond came over to my house holding it, sweating, saying, "Dude, check this out." It's been my absolute favorite thing. But I also love the Intellijel Atlantis. It's the modern device for the modern world. It's the perfect thing at just the right time.